Dear students, so far we are discussing about distributed systems processes. Okay, in the last classes we have seen distributed processes. In processes we have seen the threads. Threads, we have seen the virtualization, and we have seen the process, and we have seen the clients, and we have seen the servers, virtual servers. Okay, so continuation to that, now we are going to discuss about the code migration. Okay, we are going to discuss about the code migration, right? So generally, what is the purpose of the code migration? Code migration is nothing but we are sending the code from person to person, whether it may be code, or whether it may be a content, or it may be a file. Okay, from source to destination, from person to person, the code is migrating, we are transferring that. Okay, so in order to transfer, and we are transferring the code to the third person also have to work on that, is it not? We are working on that, and he also has to work on that, so that afterwards the code also can be again merged, is it not? Merged. So that is what about code migration. Okay, that is what about code migration. See, the outline of our topic is what is code migration, what is code migration, and code migration terminology, resource relocation and binding reconfiguration, resource relocation and binding reconfiguration, code migration paradigms, incremental code migration with XML, incremental code migration with XML. Okay, so if you want to see what is a code migration is when programs are moved from one machine to other machine. Programs are moving from one machine to other machine. What is the purpose that we are sending? Okay, but a machine to other machine, it is code is shifting, not only code, any file. Okay, code is moving from one machine to another, often moving parts of its execution environment along with it. Okay, so after we are sending to other machine, there also it has to work. For example, it may be a different platform, is it not? So it may be a different platform, different environment, even though that code should be in a along with it execution. Okay, so it should be used for the execution. The intent is for the transferred program to continue execution on the target machine. Not only simply we are sending and we are ideal, it's not like that. So after sending also, that code should be work on that any particular system to which we sent. Okay, so in continuation, that code migration is often used for load distribution. Okay, that is also one purpose. See, if we have more load, we can transfer the code to our colleague or like that. Okay, so code migration is often used for load distribution, reducing network bandwidth. Okay, so to reducing the network bandwidth also, there is a purpose of the sending the code. Okay, and dynamic customization and mobile agents. Dynamic customization, see, a person is expert to doing some kind of thing, so that, so to customize that code, we can send the code to the particular person. And for mobile agents also, if you see the mobiles, there are different types of applications or games and parts, so everyone, we can divide the workload, and we can give some task, some code to the person, so that the other person also can continue that. Okay, so which he received from the person, he can continue work on that. Okay, so we will gain a more tangible understanding of code migration when we get to the programs section. We will gain a more tangible understanding of code migration when we get to the paradigms section, that parts of the section. Okay, so code migration terminology, how the code migration terminology is going to be. Code migration has been around for some time, because it is moving from person to person, but traditionally code migration technologies could not agree on terms. Okay, why could not agree for terms? Because maybe it is different environment of the different persons, is it not? for different environment of the different persons, it could not be agree on terms. Okay, so to understand code migration properly, we will go over some standardized terms for code migration as defined. Okay, so even though it is not exactly okay, but for migration property, we will go over some standardized terms for code migration as it is defined. Okay. See, many code migration technologies provide computational environments to support code mobility. Computational environments to support code mobility. What is computational environments? See, a person we are sending to different persons, so there it should be the code should be free to environments to support to that code mobility. Okay, according to that the environment, it has to support. Okay, computational environments give applications the ability to move components from one host to another host. Okay, so the components will be moved from one host to another host. It should be capable of adjusting in that environment. Okay, code migration terminology in continuation. Code migration components consist of execution units and resources. Okay, so generally it will have the execution units and resources. Resources they will get from person to person from by migrating, and they will continue work on that, and they will go for the execution of that unit. Okay, so it means it is they are going to add some more which they received from the person. Is it not? From the person they are receiving, and they are working, and they are executing that. So they will have the resources, and they will go for the execution of that unit. Execution units can be divided into the following. Okay, that are code segment, data segment, and execution segment. Okay, so we studied about the four types of segments in your computer organization. Is it not? That is code segments registers we have code segment, data segment, and extra segment, and code segment, data segment, extra segment, like that. Okay, so that registers are available to execute. Okay, so execution units will employ the code segment registers. Is it not? What is the purpose of the code segment, data segment, and extra segment, and data segment? So the purpose of the code segment registers are to have the information about the information about what the content the registers have. Got my point? So it will have the information about the information which there in the registers. Okay, so that it is access the information of the content of the registers and related to that information. So what type of code is also will be there in the code segment. Okay, and what is the data segment purpose? So what the data is stored in the data segment register. Okay, so like that execution is segment. Okay, so execution units can be divided into the following segments, that are code segment, data segment, execution segment. Okay, execution segment and extra segment is also there. Okay, so code segment is set of instructions being executed. So what is the path is going to be executed, the information is stored in the code segment. Data segment related to the information which is going to display code, so that information will be data. Data segment references to external resources, references to external resources, and related to that files, printers, devices, etc. Okay, related to that files, printers, and devices. Execution segment, process state, private state, stack pointer, and instruction pointer. Okay, execution segment is having the information about process state, private data, stack pointer, and instruction pointer. Okay, so strong mobility, weak mobility, described as the ability to transfer both the code segment and execution state of the execution unit from one computational environment to another. Okay, so if the transmission, if the migration is going smoothly, is known as the strong mobility, described as the ability to transfer both the code segment and execution state of the execution unit from one competition environment to another environment. From one environment to the other environment, if these two codes registers information goes smoothly, it is known as the strong mobility. Weak mobility described as the ability to transfer the code segment but not the execution segment. Okay, but not the execution segment, execution information or execution state. What is the state of the execution? Typically, weak mobility applications have predefined starting positions, for example Java applets. Okay, so typically for weak mobility, what happens? Mobility applications have predefined starting positions. Okay, so apart from the two, only one, that is code segment transfer information is transferring and execution information is not transferring, is known as the weak mobility. Okay, for example Java applets. Okay, so Java applets is example for weak mobility. Okay, strong code mobility is best characterized by two terms. What is meant by strong code mobility is known as two terms, two types. That is two terms: migration and remote cloning. That is migration and remote cloning. What is migration? Migration is when an execution unit is suspended, transferred from one computation environment to another, and resumes execution. The execution will remain there, but the migration execution unit is suspended, transferred from one company environment to another, and resumes execution. Okay, na? So that execution is resumes with that is known as the migration. Okay, and remote cloning. Remote cloning. So remote cloning is when a copy of the running execution unit is copied to another competition environment while continuing execution on the original execution environment. The content is migrated, but it is executing in the at the sender's area only. Is it not? Sender's system. Remote cloning is when a copy of running execution unit is copied to another competition environment while continuing execution on the original execution environment. Original executional environment. Okay. And sender initiated, that is proactive migration. Proactive is, it is proactive advance acting, advance. Okay, so it is initiated. Sender is initiating to send the information, that is for migration. Transfer is initiated automatically by the migrating execution unit. Transfer is initiated automatically by the migrating execution unit. Okay, for example uploading programs to a computational server. Okay, for example uploading a program, a content to the other person. Receiver initiated reactive migration, that is proactive, that is sender, and this is receiving end. Okay, sender and receiver. Receiving end, receiver initiated reactive migration, that is a proactive, and this is reactive. Okay, it is a reaction, that is advanced migration. Transfer is initiated by an execution unit different from migrating execution unit. Okay, so transfer is initiated by an execution unit different from migrating execution unit. So both are little bit different. Example, Java applets are downloaded from a web server to the client browser at the request of the browser. So example, we can consider Java applets are downloaded from web server to the client browser at the request of the browser. Is it not? We can download a Java applet from the server, but the environment is not according to that. Is it not? We have to set the environment for the Java applet. Okay, resource relocation and binding reconfiguration. Resource relocation and binding reconfiguration. When an execution unit migrates, the data space needs to be reconfigured. Is it not? Execution unit is also transferred, then there is a need of data space reconfiguration is needed. This could involve rebinding or moving resources depending on the type of resource. So it depends on the what type of resource. So if it is needed, then it should involve the rebinding or moving the resources depending on the type of resource. Okay. So resource relocation of binding reconfiguration is also types of resources. Is types of resources. What are the different types of resources? Transferable, transferable, free or fixed or non-transferable. Transferable, if transfer it is free or fixed or it is not transferable. Okay, so types of resources transferable. This type of resources can be transferred from one machine to another. It is freely transferred from one machine to another machine. Free or fixed means that is free resources can be easily moved from one machine to another. For example, data files, content, any data we can retrieve from any server. Is it not? It is free. Fixed resources can be moved but not easily. Is it not? What is meant by fixed is resources can be moved but not easily. For example, database. For example, moving a database can be moved but could slow performance. Is it not? The same environment is not there in our system, so that the performance will be slow. Okay. Non-transferable. Non-transferable is not possible to move this resource. So the statement is indicating that non-transferable is not possible to move this resource. For example, a local device such as a printer. Is it not? A printer we cannot transfer like that. Okay, so there are three types of bindings. Three types of bindings. That is, binding by identifier is strongest. We can say that it is the strongest. Binding by identifier, binding by value, and binding by type. Okay, three types of binding reconfigurations that we have. Three types of binding by identifier, that is execution unit refer to resources by unique identifiers. Is it not? That execution unit will have a unique identifier. That is the strongest one. So wherever to whom you can send, it is capable of doing there at the environment. So binding by value. So values may be vary. So execution units refer to resources based on the value or client of the resources and want local access to this type of resource. They have to reconfigure or recheck whether the values or maybe any changes are there. Okay, is weaker. Binding by type. Binding by type. Execution units refer a resource of a given type of an local device. Okay, refer to a resource of a given type, that is local devices. So binding by identifier. What is binding by identifier? Free transferable resource. Okay. So just now we discussed what is free transferable resource and fixed transferable. Just now we see free transferable resource. It is best to move this type of resource with the execution unit. Otherwise, the resource stays in the original computational environment, and the execution unit will refer to the resource by a networking reference. Networking references are the least desirable because the execution unit will be slowed due to networking problem. If two are differentiated, two are detached, so that the network problem may be raised. Okay, so network references are the least desirable because the execution unit will be slowed due to networking problems. Fixed transferable and non-transferable resources will need to use a networking reference. So for the remaining two, they have to use the networking reference. Resource relocation, binding reconfiguration, binding by value. Okay, binding by value, it is free transferable resource. Free transferable resource, what is there? Can copy or move the resource from one computation environment to another. Moving the resource may cause problems if the other execution units are accessing the resource. Network reference can be used, but again this is least desirable. Okay, so the execution environment also can be moved, and moving the resource may cause problems if other execution units are accessing the resource. Other execution units are accessing the same resource. So network reference can be used, but again it is a least desirable. Fixed transferable resources can be copied or use network reference. For fixed, we can use for what is the fixed? It is a database. So can be copied or use network reference. Non-transferable can use network reference. For non-transferable, okay, for printer or like that we can use network reference. Is it not? To connect the printer again, we can connect the network. Okay, so binding by type. Best to use rebinding. Rebinding involves the execution unit removes the original binding, moving to a new computational environment and binding to the same type of resource in the new computational environment. See, rebinding, it is disconnect the earlier connection and it is connecting the new connection. Okay, so best to use for rebinding. Rebinding involves the execution unit removing the original binding, moving to a new computational environment, and binding to the same type of resource in the new computational environment. Okay. So you can see the resource relocation by identifier, by value, by type. Okay. What about the free transferable, fixed transferable, and non-transferable? Okay. For free transferable, by identifier, it is by moving or by network reference. Just now we studied, and it is giving a tabular manner here. Okay. Tabular manner we can see here for identifier, by value, by type, for free transferable, for fixed transferable, for non-transferable. For identifier, by moving or network reference, okay, fixed by networking reference, and non-transferable by networking reference. By value, by copying or by moving network reference, by copying or by network reference, by networking reference for both things. By type, by rebinding or by copying moving network reference, or by rebinding or by copying, okay, by rebinding or network reference. Okay, so about the code migration paradigms, defining a design paradigm or software architecture is an important of the design phase of software development. This section will identify 4 design paradigms related to code migration. So what are the different paradigms that we can see here? Okay, that is client server paradigm. Client server paradigm. Okay, the server component knows how to perform a particular service. So server is familiar with that, is it not? Server is using. Client is going to test that. Server, client will know the new environment for him, is it not? So the client server paradigm, the server component knows how to perform a particular service. The client component at location a request execution of the service from the server component at location B. So server A is location A is server, location B is a client. Okay, so is serving to the client B. The server component executes the request and returns the request to the client component. Okay, the server component executes the request and returns the result to the client component. Right. Second one, remote evaluation paradigm. Remote evaluation paradigm. One software component A knows how to perform a particular service but does not have the resources to do so. Okay, so he knows that, but he don't have the resources. Okay, so he remotely got it, but the resources he don't have. The software component A sends the code component to perform the service to the another server software component B that has access to the necessary resources to access the necessary resources from A to B. Okay, so software component B performs executes the code component and returns the results to software component A. Okay, first there are 3 steps. The first one is it is going to the code, and second one it is the resources, third one it is sending the report. Okay, results sending to from A to B, from B to A. Okay, code and demand. Code and demand. Software component A has access to resources at its location but does not know how to interact with the resources. See, A got the code migrated, but they don't have the understanding about how to do that, how to use the resources. Software component A requests a code component from software component B. Okay, so their code demand code they are requesting A to B. Software component B sends the code to A and A executes the code component. Okay, so based on the request from A, okay, so B sends the code, so that B sends the code and A executes the code and sends the report. Okay, mobile agent. Mobile agent. Software component A knows how to perform a particular service but does not have the necessary resources. Okay, for example, mobile paradigm, if you see, there are different applications or programs or parts. Okay, so small programs, small games they play, they can design with the different persons. Okay, so they are familiar, they are good in their environment, is it not? So software component here knows how to perform a particular service, but does not have the necessary resources. To access the resources, A becomes a mobile agent. A becomes a mobile agent by migrating the entire computational environment, state, code, resources to another location that has the necessary resources. We can think about one point here. See, not only the information it is sending, but we have to every now and they have to cross check. Otherwise, what happens? You cannot expect a quality path, is it not? You cannot expect a quality program from the person you migrated, but finally they have to work on that. They have to resend to you, is it not? At the time of you are receiving, if it is not enough to go, so what happens? It will be wasted. So entire computation environment, state, code, resources to another location that has been necessary resources. Okay, so the mobile agent executes access the resources at its new location and executes the service code component. The mobile agent is works as a third person, is it not? Works as a third person, so he has to get the information from the server and transfer to the A and check the information, the how it is going to build, and again it is their responsibility to send to the server. Incremental code migration with XML. Incremental code migration is the ability to move, add, remove, or replace code sections in a remote program. When you receive a information and you can add, remove, or you can connect the replace code also. Is it not? Mobile agents are considered to be at the highest level of code mobility. So there the mobile agents are acting as a third party. So agents are considered to be at the highest level of code mobility where entire code and data segments can be moved together. So they are good enough to do how the things to be done. Okay, who? The mobile agents. However, incremental code migration decomposes mobile agents into individual statements, thus increasing flexibility and scalability. So that we can see, so it should be, it is the output we are going to get is a flexible and it is scalable according to our requirement. Okay. By supporting incremental code migration can be more applicable more for mobile thin clients such as PDS, user interfaces, etc. Okay, so for supporting incremental code migration, it is more useful for PDS, that is, okay, PDS and user interfaces. Okay, and XML allows users to define their own document type definitions. Okay, own document type definitions and grammar defining the syntax of the document. And XML documents always reference a DTD, so parsers know the grammar of the document. So they are familiar with the XML and document type definition and that all. Okay, so they are familiar, they are good in XML and they can do the things smoothly. Okay, so elements of XML and DTD can be attributed to store the values of identifiers, constants, and semantic information. Okay, so they maintain the constant semantic information so that XML DTDs can be used to define the syntax, that is instruction set of programming languages, so that it will not go from the track, it will not go beyond the track. Okay, so it will maintain XML documents that use the syntax defined in the DTD to specify programs functionality are called XML programs. So XML programs we are downloaded and we are doing in the environment of the XML. Moving an XML program from one machine to another achieves code mobility. It should have the code mobility for XML. Okay, so XML code migration also with XML or on turn on microwave. It is used for the on turn microwave, time number of minutes, and popcorn preset time temperature for heating popcorn. Okay, so defrost preset temperature for defrosting meat temperature. So this is about the microwave. how the information is going to keep in the microwave, that is on, time, popcorn for, and deforest, temperature, low, high, begin, off. Okay. XML programs can be transferred as source code and interpreted by the remote host, thus establishing code migration. So using XML, we can change or add small fragments of code to our programs instead of resending the entire program. Okay, so by using XML, we can change or add small fragments, some fragments of code to our programs instead of resending the program enter the program. Okay, so how do we specify where the replacement or insertion of XML code increments take place? So at what point, at the what position, that we have to specify for the replacement, insertion and increment. One solution is to use for X pointer. X pointer is an XML related standard used to navigate through XML documents. Okay, so X pointer is useful for the to fix where it is actually to keep here. Okay, by using X pointer, we can navigate through our XML program and identify a code section where we would like to insert our code, where, when, to which place insert our code, thus enabling incremental code migration so that that migration can be successful. Okay, so overall, the design view is interpreter implementation, code mobility, incremental code mobility. Okay, so interpreter implementation is by using an XML parser to establish a syntax free and the DTD. An interpreter can be written to execute the commands of the XML program represented by the syntax tree. Okay, code mobility is code is moving from with a DTD and interpreter on the target machine. On the target machine, the XML program can be sent over the target machine to the parsed into a syntax tree and executed by the interpreter Incremental code mobility is with the DTD interpreter, the XML program on the target machine. XML code increments can be sent along with the X pointer in navigation to update the XML syntax tree supported by the XML parser and incrementer. Here it is X program and the syntax and navigation is used. Okay. So this is about the code migration. So you just go through once again to this topic and you read it. So if you have any doubts, surely you can mail me. We can discuss about the topic. Okay. Thank you.